I was trapped by a heavy rainstorm in a cemetery and witnessed a rare phenomenon, a corpse giving birth, a dead mother giving birth, blood rain falling, a vengeful ghost seeking retribution. That night, the sound of rain on the blue stone slabs outside echoed like the cries of countless tormented souls. Footsteps approached from outside the coffin. It sounded like two burly men. They were carrying a body, talking as they walked. One said, "Such bad luck. She died before even giving birth." The other consoled him, "It's fine. Later my mom will arrange another marriage for me. She's just a woman, anyway. Let's just find a random spot to bury her in the morning and buy a new one." What a waste. 20,000 yuan. Yeah, exactly. Should we just leave her here? Or put her in the coffin? Did you forget what the village chief said? A woman who dies in childbirth must never be touched. What if we interfere and she gains support, turning into a vengeful ghost? You're right. Let's hurry back. This place is too eerie. Lying prone beside a coffin, listening, I felt a strong stench of blood waft into my nostrils through the coffin's crack. I took out my phone and messaged Ethan, who was in another coffin. "So scared. 2 men just carried a body in here." Ethan replied quickly, his tone a little exasperated. "What could be scarier than us 2 lying in coffins? Go to sleep early. If the rain stops tomorrow, we still have to travel." Where we couldn't see, the belly of the recently carried-in corpse seemed to stir. "My name is Aurora, a university student and also a female Taoist priestess. Today, my senior brother, Ethan, and I went to the city for an outing, planning to take a shortcut through the village cemetery to return to our temple. To our surprise, as soon as we entered, a sudden heavy rain poured down. With no other option, Ethan and I decided to take temporary shelter in the village cemetery. We thought the rain would only last a few hours, but it grew heavier and heavier, showing no signs of stopping even late into the night. Left with no choice, Ethan and I decided to sleep in the cemetery for the night and leave in the morning. The village cemetery was empty, save for a few flimsy, long unused coffins. The ground was covered in spider webs and cockroaches, as big as 2 fingers, sending chills down my spine. So Ethan and I looked at each other and quickly slipped into coffins, intending to get some sleep. Little did we know we'd encounter the shocking sight of a corpse giving birth. The smell of blood in the cemetery grew increasingly strong. I couldn't sleep at all, so I got out of my coffin, intending to see what kind of body it was. Ethan, in his coffin, seemed just as restless and disturbed. "The smell of blood is too strong. I'm going to check it out." As I spoke, Ethan also sat up. "Let's go together." I can't sleep either. In the weak light of the cemetery, I vaguely saw a dark shadow on the ground. Ethan switched on his phone flashlight, shining it on the shadow, and a pale, wide-eyed woman's face suddenly appeared in my vision. Ah! Even I, usually bold, jumped in fright. Ethan was clearly startled by my reaction. He took a step back, and after clearly seeing the face, carefully moved the light downwards. Only then did I realize the woman's body was naked, covered only by a blood-soaked white cloth, and her body was covered in wounds, as if she had been abused while alive. I sighed, thinking, what a tragic soul. Ethan nodded, returned to his coffin, and pulled out a shopping bag. It contained clothes he had bought when we were in the city. Even though they're men's clothes, at least we can use them to cover her. We've encountered her. We can't leave her naked. He finished speaking, bowed to the corpse, and handed me a pair of pants. You put on the pants, I'll put on the shirt. Let's be quick before someone comes. I nodded, took the pants, and approached the body. As I lifted a corner of the blood-stained white cloth, a thick, putrid smell of blood assailed my nose. Without thinking much, I gently lifted her legs, slipped on the pants, and pulled them up forcefully. Luckily she's thin, otherwise, with clothes so bloody it would be impossible to put them on. I fumbled with the pants, intending to fasten them, but suddenly felt her belly stir. Ethan, I stammered. Ethan clearly felt it too. He was in the middle of putting on the shirt when he abruptly tore off the white cloth. A round, pregnant belly was revealed before our eyes. This was no ordinary corpse. This was a body that had died in pregnancy, and that belly was ceaselessly writhing. She's about to give birth? The moment I finished speaking, the pants I had just pulled up strangely slipped back down. The frequency of the belly's contractions increased, causing the entire corpse to begin to tremble slightly. Ethan and I stood there, frozen, utterly at a loss. Seconds ticked by, and the woman's belly slowly stopped moving, returning to that of a normal corpse. I let out a sigh of relief, about to step forward to help her put on the pants again, when a hand suddenly grabbed my wrist. I recoiled in fright, but my wrist was held tight by the corpse. I looked at the body, only to see her glaring at me with eyes full of indignation, her mouth continuously making caca sounds, as if carrying immense grievances. Seeing this, my fear subsided. I quickly leaned my mouth close to hear what she might say, but the corpse said nothing more. I didn't notice that the breath I exhaled inadvertently entered the corpse's mouth. The body released my hand, and the belly stirred again. A tiny fetal corpse slid out from between her legs. It was a fully formed baby girl, her face pale and grey, clearly having died from prolonged oxygen deprivation in her mother's womb. Her entire body was covered in amniotic membrane, her tiny limbs still trembling slightly. What do we do?" I asked Ethan. He quickly rummaged through the shopping bag, pulled out a t-shirt I had bought, carefully wrapped the baby girl, leaving only her small face exposed, and then placed her gently beside her mother's body. "Rest in peace," he murmured. After speaking, he reached out to close the woman's eyes, but found they wouldn't shut. "This corpse died unusually, but there's no resentment on her body." "It's very strange," Ethan said. He rummaged through his pants pockets for a while, finding nothing. "Resigned?" he sighed. "I left in a hurry and didn't bring my cinnabar or talismans. I'll go back to the temple tomorrow to get my tools and return to perform a ritual for her." He finished speaking and once again placed his hand over the corpse's eyes. This time, her eyes finally closed. After everything was done, Ethan and I were utterly exhausted. Disregarding the grime, we just wanted to quickly crawl into our coffins and get some sleep. In the dim light, the woman's corpse suddenly opened her eyes, blood red, staring intently at us both. The next morning, Ethan and I were awakened by a commotion. Opening our eyes, we found ourselves surrounded by angry villagers. Who are you people? What are you doing here? Where's Lily's body? Where have you hidden Lily's corpse? They're covered in blood. They definitely hid Lily's body. Quiet down. Quiet down. Wait for the village chief to arrive. Ethan and I were dragged out of our coffins by the furious villagers and led out of the cemetery. We looked at each other, only then realizing we were covered head to toe in blood and amniotic fluid from the corpse, an unbearable mess. Amidst the clamoring crowd, a middle-aged man in Taoist robes stepped forward. He had a benevolent, Buddha-like face, broad forehead, wide face, wide chin, round eyes, and a smiling mouth. This expression should have belonged to a portly figure, yet he was gaunt, as if the wind could blow him away. He looked Ethan and me up and down. Then his expression suddenly changed, and he growled, "Who are you people? What are you doing here?" "Where is the body?" He finished speaking, walked around Ethan and me, then closed his eyes and began a divination. A moment later, his expression darkened. "This is bad." Lily's body was touched by these two, drawing in yang energy. Now she's given birth to a ghost fetus and is likely to become a vengeful spirit. He then looked at me, his previously benevolent, Buddha-like face now filled with malice. Lily died in childbirth. Her resentment is immense. Originally, I just needed to recite a purification charm, wrap her in a tattered mat, and dispose of her, and it would be done. I grasped the crucial point in his words. No wonder Lily's body had no lingering resentment. It had been forcibly dispelled by him. But we had interfered, touching the corpse. In that case, don't blame me for being ruthless. He finished speaking, and two burly men from behind rushed forward, each covering Ethan's and my mouth with one hand, dragging us roughly back into the cemetery. Lily has become a vengeful ghost. She will certainly return. Rather than letting her harm the villagers, it's better to leave you two here as live bait. The village chief finished speaking, led everyone out of the cemetery, and locked the gates tightly. They hadn't been gone long when a raindrop fell from a crack in the cemetery roof, landing on my nose. A strong, putrid smell of blood permeated my nostrils. I looked up through the crack and saw the sky had turned deep red, the entire village engulfed in malevolence. Ethan and I were locked in the cemetery, and fresh crimson blood rain streamed in through the cracks in the cemetery gate, staining the ground red. A corpse giving birth, blood rain falling, a vengeful ghost seeking retribution. It seemed our chances of survival today were slim. Ethan looked up at the blood rain, calmly pulling out a packet of chicken feet from his snack bag and gnawing on them. Seeing his composure, I also walked over and tore open a packet of potato chips. "Tell me, when do you think we'll get out of here?" Ethan didn't answer me. He just finished his chicken feet, stared at the cemetery gate, and began to count. 3. I looked at Ethan. 2. What are you doing? 1. He smirked. She's back. Just then, we heard a rustling sound outside the cemetery gate, followed by the latch clicking open. The village chief led a crowd of villagers, squeezing their way back in. The chief, at the front, was panting. his eyes full of malice. "You two troublemakers. Now, besides this cemetery, all the other houses in the village are submerged in this blood water. Lily wants to become a vengeful ghost. She wants to kill our entire village." Hearing this, I raised an eyebrow, slowly stood up, and handed the chips to Ethan. "If you haven't done anything wrong, you don't fear a ghost knocking on your door. Even if Lily has become a vengeful spirit, she'll only kill those who harmed her, not the entire village." The village chief's face turned ashen at my words. He stomped towards me, full of rage. Seeing this, Ethan stood up, blocking me, glaring at him. "What do you think you're doing?" The village chief was a head shorter than Ethan, and under his fierce gaze, his bravado immediately faltered. He recoiled, still muttering curses. Standing behind Ethan, I clearly saw that the vast majority of the villagers were men. Only a few women were elderly or children. They dared not speak, quietly trailing behind, their heads bowed low. Ethan saw the chief cower, pulled my hand, and took a few steps back, whispering, "The yin energy is heavy. She is coming." Hearing this, I closed my eyes, sensing an immense wave of malevolence rapidly approaching. Very quickly, a knocking came from the cemetery gate. Tum-tum-tum, thump-thump, tin-tot. My heart turned cold. A human knock is 3 sounds. A ghost's knock is 4. The one knocking outside was Lily. The village chief and the villagers were terrified by the sudden knocking. They looked at each other, not daring to speak. Hiding behind the crowd, I asked Ethan, "Lily can enter other houses in the village, so why can't she enter this cemetery?" Ethan pointed at the cemetery threshold. This cemetery was built in ancient times to contain bodies. It prevents corpses from becoming zombies or unjustly deceased people from turning into vengeful ghosts and harming others. Most cemetery gates are made of beech wood, so once closed, ghosts or jiangshi outside cannot enter, nor can they leave from inside. I nodded, looking at the village chief's tense face. No wonder they ran into the cemetery. The knocking outside grew more urgent, mixed with a child's voice. "Uncles? Aunts? Are you in there? Please open the door for me and my mom. Let's play together." The innocent voice, however, sounded like a death knell to the village chief and the villagers. "What do we do, chief? I don't want to die. I haven't even had a son yet. No heir for the Lee family." A man cried, falling to his knees. The village chief's face was full of annoyance. He said, "Now Lily has turned into a vengeful ghost. Her resentment is too strong. I have no way. For now, we can only hide in the cemetery for 7 days, until her first week of offerings is over. Then we can safely go out." Outside the gate, the child's voice grew shriller, continuously urging those inside to open the door. The piercing sound, rattling eardrums, and striking fear into everyone. A little girl couldn't bear it and burst into tears. The man standing next to her, annoyed by her noise, raised his hand and slapped her. "Cry! Cry! Cry! All you do is cry, you jinx. Crying even now." The woman next to her quickly pulled her daughter into her arms, daring to be angry, but not to speak. The man saw this and raised his hand again. This stinking woman dares to glare at me? Seeing this, I kicked the man in the behind. He lost his balance and fell straight to the ground. Damn it, you dared to kick me. He turned his head and glared at me viciously. It's you, you troublemaker, who made the whole village hide here. The man finished speaking, raised his fist, intending to hit my face. But upon seeing my face, he suddenly broke into a lewd smile. This girl looks pretty good. I wonder what she tastes like. As the vulgar words left his mouth, Ethan immediately punched him straight in the face. You damn bastard! Watch your mouth! The man punched, angrily raised his hand to retaliate against Ethan. Ethan raised his leg and kicked him squarely in the chest, sending the man flying several meters. The villagers watched this commotion indifferently. Some even mocked. Liam got beaten up for eyeing someone else's woman again, huh? Oh, well. Everyone's having a tough time. You can't beat him. Their words stirred up the man. Liam didn't dare look at Ethan. He just glared viciously at me, as if I were the one who had hit him. The woman next to him, holding her child, sighed and stepped forward, tugging at his shirt. That's enough. Liam suddenly found an outlet for his anger and punched the woman straight in the face. Damn it, would I have been beaten if it weren't for you? Can't even help your own husband. I was astonished by this incident, a surge of anger rushing to my head. I picked up a floor tile from the ground, intending to smash it directly onto Liam's head, but a small hand pulled me back. I looked down. It was a little girl. Sister, don't go. Otherwise, tomorrow, Liam's little sister and her mother will be beaten even worse. Hearing this, my heart ached. I crouched down, pulled the girl aside and asked, Are all the men in your village like this? The girl blinked, glanced towards Liam and his mother, and seeing no one paying attention, timidly said, Probably all like this. Dad says it's normal for men to hit women. In my ear, I heard the painful groans of the beaten woman. I turned my head and saw the faces of the men watching, all showing excitement. The other women huddled with their children, covering their ears. They were frightened and cowering. Ethan stood next to me, fists clenched. He snatched the brick from my hand and roared, Damn it, I can't take this anymore. He lunged forward, grabbed the man's collar, and slammed the brick down. At that moment, only the man's agonizing screams filled our ears. I suddenly thought of something, pulled a lollipop from my pocket, gave it to the girl, and asked, Do you know how Lily died? The girl took the candy, cautiously looked around, and leaned close to me. I know. My mom said she was pregnant with a girl, and those two men didn't want it. So they came at night and punched her belly to make her miscarry. Why two men? I don't know. My mom always complains that Lily had a miserable fate, married to two brothers as their shared wife by her in-laws. The girl, with her most innocent child's voice and naive tone, recounted the cruelest and filthiest truth. Ethan, tired from fighting, sat to one side, panting. Liam lay on the ground, knocking over some door planks. But at this moment, he dared not fight back against Ethan. He just yelled viciously at the woman. You stinking woman, aren't you going to come help me up? You watch me get beaten without helping your husband. He finished speaking and raised his hand again, intending to strike. Ethan looked over, and the man awkwardly lowered his hand, muttering, Just wait until that cursed Lily is gone after her first week. I'll go home and beat both you and your daughter to death." The woman heard this and hugged her child tighter. She lowered her head to look at her daughter, then looked at Liam's angry face, and a look of fierce determination flashed in her eyes. At this moment, the noises outside the cemetery grew louder. The gate groaning as if about to break. Ethan and I were resting in a corner when we suddenly noticed someone beside us. I opened my eyes and saw the woman Liam had beaten, blood still at the corner of her mouth. I reached out to wipe it away, but she avoided my hand. The woman seemed to have made a great resolution. She handed her daughter to me, pleading, "Please take care of my little girl." She then placed 2 small dolls into Ethan's and my hands. Before, when Lily was beaten, I helped her. "These are dolls she made. She will recognize them. Take them. She won't harm you." She finished speaking, stroked her daughter's face, then resolutely stood up and walked straight towards the large gate. Ethan and I immediately understood what she intended to do. We wanted to stop her, but found ourselves unable to speak. The woman slowly moved towards the gate. Due to her slow steps and fragile appearance, no one stopped her. Only Liam, lying on the ground, spoke up. "You stinking woman, what are you doing? Hurry back. Be careful not to break the gate bar." The woman looked at the wooden lock, then at the indifferent men around her, at the bruises on her own body, and at her daughter. Holding the lollipop in my arms, she took a deep breath, as if steeling her resolve, then forcefully pulled the gate bar. The gate swung open, and a cold gust of wind rushed in, carrying the pungent smell of blood, mixed with damp earth, filling the cemetery. "Ha! The door's open. Uncles, do you want to play with me?" Outside stood 2 figures, one tall, one small, Lily and her daughter. Lily's face was now ashen, her long black hair reaching the ground, her eyes blood red with no whites visible, her entire body exuding a thick black aura. Dark red blood flowed from her feet, and her fingernails were sharp, like a demon from hell come to claim lives. Her daughter crawled on the ground, her entire body still enveloped in the amniotic membrane. Her small face looked up, pupils pitch black, a smile stretching her lips to reveal sharp, pointed teeth. Liam's wife looked at the vengeful spirits before her, laughing bitterly. She knew that by opening this door, she wouldn't live, so she screamed, "Lily! They are the ones who harmed you, and us too. The men in this village are all rotten, all of them cursed spawns. Go, take your revenge, take your revenge." She finished speaking and slammed her head into a cemetery pillar. Boy! Blood splattered onto Lily's face, its metallic scent stimulating her. Lily stiffened, then turned to look at the woman who had just died tragically, emitting a piercing shriek of sorrow. The malevolent aura surrounding her shifted to a deep red. Her resentment had intensified. Ethan and I quietly retreated. We slipped the dolls Lily had made into the hands of the 2 little girls, and then drew our mini peachwood swords from our inner pockets. If anything went wrong, Ethan and I would combine our strength, hoping to subdue her. The village chief noticed Lily's chain. He calmly looked at the 2 men behind him and said, "This is bad. Lily has been agitated by this woman. and her resentment has increased. Quickly, bring Louis and Leo here. Louis and Leo were the two brothers who had killed Lily. Her pregnancy was already full term. She was about to give birth. But because it was a girl, the two brothers had punched her belly, causing her to miscarry, ultimately leading to Lily's death from excessive blood loss. The village chief watched Louis and Leo being led forward, having already decided to sacrifice them. After all, Lily was killed by them. The little girl was right. Even if she became a vengeful ghost, her grudge had a source, her debt had an owner. As long as he handed those two over to Lily, he would be safe. Thinking this, the village chief pushed Louis and Leo towards Lily. The ones who killed you are here. Go, take your revenge. Leo deftly dodged, running to one side, but Louis, unprepared, fell straight towards Lily. Lily's sharp claws snatched Louis, and she smirked, tearing open his flesh and ribs. She grabbed his still-beating heart and ripped it out forcefully. Seeing this scene, I quickly stood up, wanting to stop her from killing more. If Lily continued like this, she would surely descend to hell. Suddenly, an icy sensation flowed from above my head. I looked up, meeting the pitch-black eyes of Lily's daughter. It bared its teeth and smiled at me, and a flood of strange memories immediately poured into my mind. I saw the village chief seeking out Louis and Leo, telling them Lily was pregnant with a girl, and if it was a firstborn daughter, the villagers would mock them. Then I saw Lily on the ground, begging Louis and Leo not to harm her child, but the two ignored her, repeatedly punching her belly. Meanwhile, on a high chair, the village chief sat leisurely, drinking tea. I saw this chilling scene. Behind him were countless fresh, red female spirits. Ye was the one who had caused the deaths of the baby girls in the village. The other men were all his accomplices. No wonder he had a Buddha-like face, yet possessed a withered skeletal body. His being was burdened with countless lives. I slowly sat back down. If anyone was going to hell, they should go first. Seeing Louis's gruesome fate, Leo turned his head, glaring fiercely at the mastermind. Lily seized his throat and squeezed tightly. With his last vestiges of strength, Leo shrieked. It was the village chief. The village chief said you were pregnant with a girl and told us to hit your belly. How else would we know you were pregnant with a girl? Not only that, all the baby girls in the village are because of the chief. He couldn't finish his sentence before Lily twisted his neck. His snap. Like discarding trash, Lily flung Leo to the ground and slowly advanced towards the village chief. At this moment, the chief was on his knees, trembling. He stammered, "No, not me. I didn't." Lily ignored him. She raised her hand and gripped the chief's throat. The chief's face suddenly contorted with malice. He pulled out a handful of cinnabar from his robes and threw it directly at Lily. He was, after all, a practitioner of Taoism. Even in his evil deeds, he understood some demon-warding spell. Lily was caught off guard by the attack. Foam erupted from the spot where she was hit, and dark aura billowed out. She let out a roar, and her little daughter, who was on my head, heard her mother's cry. Its expression changed, and it quickly crawled across the ground towards the village chief. The chief couldn't dodge in time, and it crawled onto his head. The little ghost extended its black claws, savagely raking the chief's scalp, tearing off chunks of flesh. Enraged, the chief pulled a string made of peach wood fragments from his waist and chained the little ghost's neck. The little ghost reacted too slowly, its eyes bulging from the choke chain. Seeing this, Lily ignored her own wounds and lunged forward, grabbing the chief by the throat. The other men were too terrified to move. The chief, flustered, shouted, "What are you still standing there for? I have cinnabar powder in my pouch. Sprinkle it on her. If she kills me, you're next." These words jolted the men into action. They scrambled to the chief's pouch, grabbing cinnabar powder and sprinkling it on Lily. Hiss! Hiss! The cinnabar powder touched Lily's body, emitting sizzling sounds accompanied by a burning smell. Her hand gripping the chief's throat loosened, and she staggered back. Just when we thought she would give up, a woman embraced the little ghost beside Lily and poured a handful of cinnabar powder into its mouth. A scissor! Black smoke billowed from the little ghost's mouth, and it shrieked tragically. Lily froze, her motherly instinct making her resentment surge even higher. The village chief saw this and quickly grabbed his pouch, intending to throw another handful of cinnabar, but he found the pouch empty. He looked up in astonishment, seeing several women throwing his cinnabar powder out the window. An elderly woman stepped forward and said, "Liam's wife was right. You are all rotten, all you cursed spawns. Especially you, chief. You incited my husband to beat my child. And of course, my husband isn't good either. All of you are the same, completely rotten." The frail women now stood before us like a solid wall. The village chief frowned and bellowed, "I did this for your own good. What's wrong with wanting our village to have many sons? Our village won't be bullied. Our village will have young men, will have labor." Before he could finish, a blood-soaked hand pierced through his back, grabbed his heart, and ripped it out forcefully. The village chief's eyes widened, unwillingly looking back to meet Lily's blood-red eyes. Then he collapsed to the ground, lifeless. The female spirits on his body, seeing him die, jumped out, clapping and cheering. Ethan and I had cowered in the corner throughout the entire process, witnessing everything, but with no intention of intervening. Firstly, Lily was a vengeful ghost formed from an unjustly deceased pregnant woman, and her child was a ghost fetus with immense resentment. We didn't have enough power. If provoked, they would become a mother-child killing duo, and we'd be doomed. Secondly, the women in the village and Lily were truly too pitiful. 9. Purifying Lily. After Lily killed the village chief, the remaining men were like lost souls, cowering in fear. One brave man spoke up. It was the village chief who incited Louis and Leo to kill you. It has nothing to do with us." He finished speaking, and Leo was pushed out from the crowd. This time, he wasn't lucky enough to dodge. The little ghost saw him, blinked its large eyes, and called out, "Daddy." Leo thought the little ghost and Lily intended to spare him. After all, he was the baby's father. But the next second, the little ghost's expression turned ferocious. "Even fierce tigers don't eat their cubs, so why are you so cruel, Daddy? If that's how it is, give me your head to play with." It finished speaking, quickly crawled onto Leo, and with both hands, twisted his head. Crack! Leo's head dangled grotesquely from his neck. Lily waved at the little ghost. The little ghost smiled, crawled over, and hugged Lily's leg. It looked at the trembling men, its voice sweet, its tone innocent. You uncles are all masterminds. You abused the women and made female infanticide a common thing, so you should come play with me too. It finished speaking and lunged, breaking another man's neck. The men were utterly panicked. One by one, they knelt. Their fists, which had once struck women, now pounded their own bodies, blow after blow, just to beg Lily for mercy. I looked at Ethan. "Do you think they truly regret it?" Ethan chuckled. "No, they just know they're about to die. Not a single man was spared. The entire cemetery was a river of blood, truly a living hell." Although Lily didn't speak a word throughout the process, she seemed to retain a shred of reason as a vengeful ghost. She harmed no women or children in the village, including several young boys. When the last man fell to the ground, Lily suddenly let out a mournful shriek. All the blood on the ground quickly gathered towards her. I inwardly cried, "This is bad." Lily had already become a vengeful ghost, and now, having killed so many people, the scent of blood would stimulate her, causing her to lose all reason and attack indiscriminately. I gripped my peach wood sword tightly, carefully watching her every move. Lily sensed our presence. She turned, and a faint smile seemed to grace her pale face. Covered in blood, she swiftly lunged towards me. Ethan saw this and shielded me. Lily wasn't angry. She looked at the two little girls beside Ethan and me, who were holding the dolls she had made, and a gentle expression appeared on her face. She gently placed the little ghost in front of me, opening her mouth as if to say something. I looked at the small corpse sitting on the ground and spoke. "I understand. I will take the child back to the temple to perform the transcendence ritual so she can be reborn." Lily heard this and nodded. She then flew up to the cemetery roof, looked towards the keychain hanging from Ethan's waist. She gave a tragic smile and lunged straight into it. The keychain had a large string of 5 emperor coins, which Ethan liked to use as a keyring. Her soul scattered, not a trace of her spirit remaining. It seemed she was determined not to be reborn as a human again. Along with Lily's disappearance, the blood rain slowly turned to normal clear rain, then gradually ceased. Aside from the corpses and blood on the ground, Lily left nothing behind, as if she had never existed. Suddenly, the ground shook, and a flash flood rapidly surged towards us. The village, surrounded by mountains and having experienced heavy rain for many days, had soft soil, making it very susceptible to flash floods and landslides. Seeing this, I quickly picked up the little ghost and the other little girl. Ethan also picked up 2 other children. We quickly placed them on coffins, pushed their bottoms, and told them to hug the cemetery pillars and climb up. The children, having grown up in the village, were excellent tree climbers and immediately ascended. The remaining people also quickly hugged other pillars. Although this flash flood arrived fiercely, by the time it reached the cemetery, the water had subsided, but the blood and corpses on the ground were swept away by the current without a trace. Water can wash away everything. As for whether the bodies would be discovered, no one knew, but I guess they wouldn't be found. After all, the cemetery was on high ground, so flash floods couldn't normally reach it. So why did it suddenly appear and coincidentally wash away all the blood and corpses without harming anyone? The rain stopped and the sky cleared. Ethan and I took the little ghost back to the temple. The daughter of the woman who committed suicide was taken to her grandmother's house, according to the girl's wish. Back at the temple, our master was resting with his eyes closed on a rocking chair. Ethan and I, covered in blood, tiptoed through the side door. Master gently opened his eyes, glancing at us both. That little ghost needs to be nurtured for 49 days before its malevolence dissipates. You've only just returned and already found work for me. Our temple is so poor, and I'll have to spend more on offering. I've accepted a job for you two. Go earn some money for me tomorrow. Ethan and I, knowing our mistake, timidly nodded. The little ghost behind us waved its arms and legs, baring its teeth. Master glanced at it, pointed a finger, and it immediately fell silent. So rude, its teeth are even crooked. The little ghost cried upon hearing this. In a special news bulletin, the village was hit by a flash flood, destroying all houses except for the century-old cemetery, which remained intact. Tragically, when the flash flood struck the village, all the able-bodied men in the village who participated in the rescue efforts were swept away and buried by the flood, their bodies never found. I looked at these two news reports with a touch of anger. Why were they still praised even after death? Ethan poured me a glass of water. Come on, drink some water. Even though they died with a good reputation, look at this. Ethan pointed to a few lines still on the newspaper. The women of the village received community donations to rebuild their hometown together. That's good too. After all, reputation is fleeting, but money is real. I thought for a moment, then stood up to find our master's wife to get master's wallet, intending to donate to the village. When master's wife heard about the village, her eyes turned red and she pulled out all of master's savings. I saw a pile of money, took half of it, and went directly to the village to give the money to the elderly woman who had become the new village chief. At this time, although the village was desolate, with only women and children remaining, the burdens that had weighed on their shoulders were gone. Later, the village was rebuilt, and they even transformed the cemetery into a shrine. Inside, an unnamed statue was worshipped, seemingly in the image of Lily. Although she was a vengeful ghost, she indirectly saved all the women in the village. Yanani. Ow. Aha and now.